Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9.
Well, good morning to you. The Daybreak Show rolls on here on AM 1030 and FM 103.3 to start this day, the 26th day of August. I'm Jeff Slakey on the show today. Local news, conversation, and more. Since our last report yesterday, Mason County Public Health notified of 6 additional Mason County residents that tested positive for COVID-19. This brings the total to 321 positive cases in the county. Mason County is continuing contact interviews. The county community development director, who's acting as the fire marshal, and in partnership with the Mason County Fire Chiefs Association, determining that the current weather conditions have created substantial fire dangers, and there's a need to enact restrictions on outdoor burning to all lands regulated by the county. This burn restriction applies to outdoor burning, including land clearing, yard debris, and includes a prohibition on recreational fires. The use of charcoal briquettes, gas, and propane barbecues, though, continue to be allowed under the ban. County also temporarily closing MCRA on Johns Prairie Road now until the first of the year in order to replace the in-ground irrigation system on the 7-ball diamonds outfields, and they're going to reseed as well. Due to there being open trenches, large equipment, and electrical work being performed, the county is asking that you refrain from using the park during the project. The Washington Department of Corrections is taking its talent acquisition efforts online in a new way as the department works to fill more than 100 vital correction officer, health care, and other jobs and facilities statewide. There is going to be a virtual job fair today. It's first ever. Job seekers must register to attend the event. They visit a variety of virtual booths featuring career fields. They have a lot of openings: correctional industries, officers, food service, IT, HR, nursing, and more. Again, that's the Department of Corrections today having its first ever virtual job fair. And in Mariners news, J.P. Crawford homered, doubled, and drove in 3 runs for the Mariners, who beat the Padres 8-3 to snap their 7-game winning streak. Austin Nola also homered for the Mariners, who won their 4th straight, and for the 5th time in 6 games, Nola and Evan White had 3 hits apiece. Mariners continue on the air here on AM 1030 and FM 103.3 this afternoon into the evening at 5 o'clock. That'll be the pregame today. 6:10 will be the first pitch. And a big thanks to our Super Sports sponsors helping us get the Mariners on the air this year in this shortened coronavirus season. Super Sports sponsors for Mariners are Ascend Roofing, Arch Mechanical, PUD3, I-Fiber, and The Roof Doctor. Well, more coming up here throughout the show, conversation included as well. It's all here on Daybreak on the 26th of August. A good morning to you.
From the I-Fiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Good morning to you as we continue on here today. It's the 26th of August, and, well, a good morning to you. Again, a reminder, the Mariners are back on the air this afternoon. It's going to be against the San Diego Padres again, 5 o'clock pregame, 6:10 first pitch. Taking a look at some of the regional stories, hundreds of protesters demonstrated in Seattle in solidarity with protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and around the country over police shooting of a black man there. News outlets report one person in Seattle was arrested for investigation of arson after some people smashed some windows, started fires, and spray-painted graffiti, according to police. Protesters started at Cal Anderson Park around 9 o'clock on Monday, chanting Black Lives Matter and No Justice, No Peace. Demonstrators marched past the East Precinct on Capitol Hill, then to the West Precinct downtown, and then back to the East, where police broke up the crowd. Vancouver Public Schools in the state appear ready to retire the chieftain mascot at a high school after hearing feedback that decried the Native American imagery as offensive and racist. The Columbian reports in a workshop yesterday, the board of directors indicated their support for retiring the image of a Plains Indian chief as the Columbia River High School mascot. Members heard from leaders of local Native American tribes who urged the school district to eliminate it. School board president Wendy Smith says there's no cause to keep it in place. The board could formally vote to okay its removal at the next meeting. The border closure between Canada and the United States has severely hurt Point Roberts, which is separated from the rest of the country by 25 miles of Canadian land. The coronavirus-induced border closure shut down 2 border crossings for the town of about 1,300 people who must commute through Canada to get to the rest of Washington state. King TV reports the economy depends on the flow of people and resources from the border, which closed in March and remains closed through at least September 21st. And there's no regular ferry or air service to Point Roberts either. There has been no confirmed cases of the coronavirus reported in that town. Nordstrom has reported a larger than expected loss and a 53% drop in sales for the fiscal second quarter as the pandemic forced the upscale chain to temporarily close stores. The Seattle-based retailer's business was also hurt by the shift of its anniversary sales from the fiscal second quarter to the third quarter. Like many department stores and other non-essential retailers, Nordstrom was forced to temporarily close its stores and furlough workers when the pandemic was declared in mid-March. Nordstrom stores have now reopened, but stores were temporarily closed during half of the whole fiscal second quarter. Now, during the fiscal first quarter, Nordstrom cut inventory by more than 25%. And officials say protesters in Portland repeatedly set fire to a police union headquarters building and then repelled by officers spraying tear gas. 25 people were arrested amid the clashes that lasted into yesterday morning. Police say the people in a group of about 300 hurled rocks and bottles at officers and set 3 fires to the sides of a building and 1 to an awning. Portland, of course, been gripped by nightly protests since the police killing of George Floyd. Well, that's a look here at regional news this morning on AM 1030 and FM 103.3. Hope you're having a good start to your day on this Wednesday, 26th of August, about a week away from the start of school in the Shelton School District. Other districts are really getting ready for it as well. Mariners continue to play here on the radio. Again, 5 o'clock pregame, 6:10 first pitch, and big thanks to our Super Sports sponsors helping us get the Mariners on the air this year. That's the Roof Doctor, PUD3, iFiber Communications, Arch Mechanical, and Ascend Roofing. More Daybreak coming up.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Good morning to you. Daybreak Show rolls on here on this 26th of August. Mariners on tonight, 5 o'clock pregame, 6:10 first pitch. On this day, well, without this day, you wouldn't probably be able to even hear this report. Back in 1873, Dr. Lee DeForest was born. He invented the audion tube, and that tube makes the broadcasting of sound possible. 1907, Harry Houdini jumping off the bridge into San Francisco Bay, his hands handcuffed and a 75-pound ball and chain was attached for good measure. Swam to the surface, minus the ball and chain and handcuffs, about 2 minutes later. In addition to listening to the Mariners here on the radio, I've been checking them out on TV just to see how it looks. And pretty bizarre to not have anybody in the crowds. They got the piped-in crowd noise, and most of the teams have cardboard cutouts of their fans. But today in 1939 was the first televised Major League Baseball game. It was a doubleheader between the Cincinnati Reds and the Brooklyn Dodgers. And it's Branford Marsalis' birthday today. He's 60. Chris Burke, who was Corky on Life Goes On, is 55. And Macaulay Culkin is 40. Well, if you're having a birthday, you got it with some good folks. Hope you're having a great start to your day as well. More Daybreak coming up.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey here on the Daybreak Show, continuing on here on the 26th of August. Here's a weird story I found for you. Turned out to be anything but a match made in heaven when a Texas groom was shot in the chest at his own wedding, and now the new bride is refusing to talk to investigators. Officers believe the unidentified groom shot after a fight with one of the guests at the celebration in Houston, or a suburb of Houston, last week, according to the Houston Chronicle. Both the shooter and the victim fled the scene, although the injured groom was found bleeding in a house across the street from the reception, airlifted then to a local hospital, currently listed in stable condition. Witnesses on the scene thus far have been uncooperative, and that includes the bride. And if you've already forgotten the beginning of the story, it was the groom that got shot. People at the house have been detained until we can get their witness statements, Captain John Shannon told ABC affiliate KTRK down there in Houston. Man, what's the scenario there? The bride won't even talk. Well, good morning to you. I hope you're having a great start to the day. Daybreak continues.
iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Daybreak show rolls on this good morning. Spencer, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Well, not too bad, and better than this person in this next story. Dateline, Michigan. This is a bizarre one. A funeral home finds out that rumors of a woman's demise may have been greatly exaggerated. Here's ABC's Dave Packer.
In Michigan, an unidentified 20-year-old woman from Southfield showing no signs of life. Paramedics called, trying for 30 minutes to revive her. The Oakland County Medical Examiner declaring the woman dead, her body sent to the James H. Cole Funeral Home in Detroit. Then, as she was about to be embalmed, she opened her eyes. The staff handling the body hearing breathing. The deputy commissioner of the Detroit Fire Department, whose responders were called to the funeral home, saying they couldn't believe it. The woman was alive, taken to the hospital. No official word on her condition. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Wow. Thanks, Dave. Isn't that something?
That's unbelievable. And that, I guess, used to happen a lot kind of in the olden days, as they say, where they declared people dead prematurely and they'd be buried alive or something. But I don't get how that happens. How does that happen for that long? Where, I mean, they transported her, all that stuff. I mean,
with paramedics.
I don't get it.
I mean, how long has this happened? Because you think about somebody who knows where this person was leading up to the point where someone found and called paramedics. Then 30 minutes of paramedics trying. Then they have to transport the now body to the Oakland County Medical Examiner's office, I guess, who then declared the woman dead. I mean, this sounds like it was a very lengthy process here.
Yeah, and then kind of the suspense of what happened afterwards. Did she want to go to Disneyland, or was she catatonic, or was she brain dead, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering what her state is now. I mean, that's one heck of a book, don't you think, that she's going to write if she's able to? I can't even imagine.
And these two often will open up questions about what if you were aware during this time. You know, the what's it called? Life after death experience.
Yeah, like out of
near-death
body
experience. Whether or not there's light or anything like that. It's just an amazing story. And, you know, I think you're right. This did used to happen more often back in the olden days, like 1800s. And wouldn't people keep, like, a string and a bell or something? And it would go.
Yeah, that's right. That's creepy. Boy, that just gave me goosebumps. Yeah. There was something like that where they could ring the bell or something, right? And then that would remind people that, hey, well, wait a minute. Maybe Uncle Joe's still down there. Let's go double check. There was an X-Files episode where the I forgot what the punchline was, but they were burying people. Some creepy guy would put a cell phone in their dead hands when they were buried. You know, they close the casket up. And then after they're buried, like the next day, you hear the cell phone calling out. Like they were getting a call from the person in the casket. I forgot how the story ended, but that was X-Files, not real life.
The call was coming, yeah.
But it was coming from the grave.
Wow.
But can you imagine if they'd embalmed her? I mean, what's the next step after embalming? I mean, I guess they put you in the... Can you imagine if she'd opened her eyes in front of everybody at the funeral parlor?
or something. Yeah. Taphophobia, the fear of being buried alive.
Wow.
As early as the 14th century, so the 1300s, there are accounts of specific people being buried alive. A lot of these were often, though, in above-ground tombs, too.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
This 17th century England, there's a story of a lady named Alice Blunden buried alive. The story goes she was knocked out after having imbibed a large quantity of poppy tea that a doctor was holding a mirror to her nose and mouth and pronounced dead. Well, that was one of them. There's a bunch of stories here. This one is as recent as 2011. A lady in Russia. She was laying in her casket at her own funeral, and she woke up.
Oh, my God.
She lived for an additional 12 minutes in intensive care and then died one more. The cause, they say, was heart failure. That is amazing.
That's crazy. And then the mirror thing, I guess, was they could see the condensation, I guess is what it would be called, from the breathing.
Yeah. And there's a few different patents. 1882, 1868, different years, 1885, were different types of caskets that could offer help if somebody is found to be buried alive.
That's unbelievable. That's really kind of creepy stuff. And you're right, like the experience of if they recall what was going on, how medical science explains it. That you're right, the transport time, the time that they didn't just find her passed out, I would guess, that she was in that state for some time.
Yeah.
And just the whole start to finish is just unbelievable. I'd love to interview a doctor and say, like, how does this happen? Why does it happen? And, you know, what happens to you after something like this happens? If you're ever the same again.
That's amazing. Amazing story to share with you here this morning on Daybreak, and good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning to you. The Daybreak Show rolls on here. Spencer, good morning.
Hey, what's going on? Good morning to you.
Well, came across an interesting survey or study that we'd share today. Survey says 88% of women find mask-wearing men sexy.
Wow. Now, do they mean like surgical masks, or they mean like Halloween masks or superhero masks?
People do love a doctor. While some Americans remain dead set against wearing face masks during this pandemic, new survey giving non-mask wearing men some pause. Apparently, 88% of women finding masked men sexier than their counterparts who don't wear them in public, largely because of societal conditioning. Some men view masks as a sign of weakness.
Interesting.
When you see how the isn't that something? Now, when you see how the majority of women perceive men in masks, however, should be a game changer for a lot of guys, especially for those who want to stay sexy in the eyes of their partner. Isn't that something?
It is. And I'm wondering, I looked at this and I thought, is it the visual of the mask? Is there something about that, like certain clothing and the way you carry yourself can be sexy to your partner, to strangers even? Or is it something more instinctive, like, is it sexy to be cautious of other people's health? You know what I mean? Like, is it sexy because wearing the mask is sexy, or what it means? Like, oh, he's more conscientious than the guy not wearing the mask, and I find that sexy. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to minimize the pandemic. I like that.
Right. The latest, you could say that a mask wearer could be assumed or considered a protector.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It may have to do with that.
So the elections are coming up, right? And so Vice President Biden and Donald Trump are running, and we know kind of where each other are in the camps. But Biden's new kind of push on these masks things is that he says it's a patriotic duty to protect our fellow Americans.
Oh, very interesting.
And that kind of falls into that protector perhaps category or something like that.
Yeah, and it shows you that it's all in how you look at it, right? If you look at it as government intrusion and being forced to do something you don't want to do versus for the greater good, or now I'm wondering if guys get word of this survey, if they're going to start wearing masks, even the ones who wouldn't wear them before, because they want to.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah, if they want to be sexy in the eyes of their partner or strangers at the mall or wherever it is that they're congregating.
All right. I had to look this up while we're talking, but I decided to, and you and I don't really need this, but there are now, of course, websites out there that offer up COVID-19 pickup lines.
No.
So if you're out somewhere and you happen to make eyes with someone, because that's all you can make eyes is because everybody's got a mask on. There's some pickup lines for you to start. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Is this for real?
Yeah, there's some good ones here.
Let's see.
You can't spell virus without you and I.
I was waiting for that one. Oh my gosh. What else?
I'm just a boy standing 6 feet away from a girl asking you to maybe move back another foot.
Oh my gosh. This is funny stuff. Any more?
This is what website is this? manofmany.com.
How did you find this again?
Well, here's another one. I looked up COVID pickup lines. Can't spell quarantine without URAQT.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. Who thinks of these things? They're brilliant.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, a bad pickup line
some
would be
of
in a
them are
bar
not
saying,
appropriate for the
hey,
radio.
2 Coronas for me. And yeah. That would be a bad one.
That would be a bad one. Or you can just say, mask you a question.
Gosh. I wonder.
And then you tip your invisible hat. Milady, mask you a question.
Now, you wonder if these are actually things that people have overheard or if it's just totally satire and humor, but...
Oh, it's just somebody working in some no-windowed room trying to come up with the funniest one of these.
It's really funny. I saw a mask, by the way, that I had never seen. You've kind of seen them all by now, the ones with the mouths on them and the cartoon characters and sports teams. I saw one I'd never seen. I saw a woman... She came into the car lot, and she was at the desk going through paperwork with one of my sales buddies, and she was wearing a belly dancer mask. Have you ever seen anybody wearing one of those?
Well, I mean, at belly dances,
Yeah,
but
really.
not in public.
Not in car lots.
General.
Well, it was
not in
funny
car
because
lots.
it was like silk. I don't even know what the material was. It wasn't like cotton, but it had like the little beads hanging off the ends, and it looked like something she would have found like in a bazaar in a foreign country. It was really exotic and really kind of cool looking. And that's the first time I've ever seen somebody wearing one of those.
Yeah, that is a new one. Isn't that something? So just, I guess, another reason to think about wearing that mask if you're perhaps looking for love during this COVID pandemic. More Daybreak Show is coming up.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber 1 News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.